Welcome to FiresideND, the podcast from ThinkND that brings the experience and expertise of Notre Dame to you, whenever, wherever. From STEM to art, from religion to health, listen and learn with Notre Dame on the go.
The 1924 season at 100 years was coming up, so we actually booked this space several years ago without really a defined thesis, if you will, of what we were going to talk about in the exhibit. We knew we wanted to honor the season and the team.
The 1924 season, it's just sort of a perfect storm of events. You've got the Klan riot in the build-up to the 1924 season. You've got arguably one of Knute Rockne's best teams. They beat Army, they beat Princeton, they beat Wisconsin, they beat Nebraska, they beat Georgia Tech, they beat Stanford. They're playing all around the country, which is unusual in this era. They're beating a who's who of college football power. So on October 19th, 1924, Grantland Rice writes his column about the Notre Dame Army game played in the Polo Grounds. He starts out with his legendary, iconic paragraph at the start in the New York Herald, outlined against a blue-gray October sky. The four horsemen rode again. In dramatic lore, they're known as famine, pestilence, destruction, and death. These are only aliases. Their real names are Stuhldreher, Miller, Crowley, and Layton.
The more that we dug into it, the more that we realized that there were things going on off the gridiron that Notre Dame was combating. And it was very interesting to see how Notre Dame used football and leveraged it as a way to make a name for itself in the public eye. Football does not exist in a vacuum, and it was very interesting to see how Notre Dame leveraged football. They used this, it wasn't 100% newfound popularity, but the 1924 season, their success on the field really thrust them into a new spotlight, and Notre Dame was able to use that to their advantage.
This is a story about football, yes, but it's a story about politics, about culture, about society. And the things that Father O'Hara are talking about, the Klan are talking about, President Walsh are talking about, Knute Rockne's talking about, these fundamental questions of American citizenship, of constitutional rights, are really some of the most important questions in American politics. They recur throughout American history. The questions of citizenship and who belongs in America echo down, as we might say at Notre Dame, through the ages to the present time. So this exhibit is about football, but it's about so much more, and we wanted to really get at those issues. Sports is never just about sports. Sports is now, always has been, always will be political. And you can't understand sports without understanding the underlying social, cultural, political context in which the sports are happening. And the context of the 1924 national championship Notre Dame football team was the swirling, virulent, reactionary nativist politics of the 1920s that birthed the second version of the Ku Klux Klan.
The exhibit explores the 1924 football season through this political context that Notre Dame, America, Catholics, and immigrants were all dealing with, and a lot of us are familiar with the Ku Klux Klan and their discrimination. That really hit home with Notre Dame.
The Klan was always anti-African American, but in the 1920s was particularly anti-Catholic, anti-immigrant. They felt that these groups were not properly American. They challenged the traditional understanding of Americanness, and the political program of the Klan and of other nativist fellow travelers, fellow sympathizers, was called 100% Americanism, which really championed and prized white male American citizenship and denigrated and attacked, sometimes literally, these other groups like Catholics, immigrants, who they felt were not properly American.
And the more that we started doing research, the more that we saw this political movement that was happening at the time and Notre Dame's reaction to it through football.
Notre Dame's leaning into their Catholic identity, leaning into their Irish identity, their immigrant identity. This is the era in which Notre Dame proudly accepts the moniker the Fighting Irish. It was a bit controversial in the 19-teens. Notre Dame's leaning into their Irish immigrant Catholic identity. And college football in the 1920s was one of the most popular, most important cultural productions of the mainstream American Protestant elite. And we have a small Catholic college in Indiana, the heart of the Klan. identified with Catholics, identified with Irish immigrants, succeeding wildly at this most American of activities. It just means more. It belies the arguments of 100% Americanism that Catholics can't be true Americans, that immigrants aren't American citizens or shouldn't be American citizens.
We're seeing how Notre Dame is being successful in that. They're getting invitations to go out to Hollywood and meet with actors. The celebrities are coming out and they're supporting Notre Dame. So these are ways that we were able to bring all of that together, that in spite of any potential discrimination against Catholics, Notre Dame is still able to overcome and be a popular figure in the public.
One of the cornerstone documents of this exhibit we came across relatively late in the process. Father John O'Hara was the prefect of religion on campus. He published a daily religious bulletin distributed around campus to Notre Dame students, talking about current events, talking about religion, talking about all sorts of things. And Father O'Hara told it like it was, which is great as historians and as curators. And on November 17, 1924, after the Nebraska game, a home game that Notre Dame beats Nebraska for the first time in a couple of years, Father O'Hara writes, he's talking about the success of Notre Dame football. He says, this success comes in the midst of a wave of bigotry, in the wake of an election, the 1924 election, into which was injected much bitterness and fanaticism on the part of people, he means people like the Klan and 100% Americanism, who would deprive us, Catholics, immigrants, of our constitutional rights of citizenship. Its effect, the effect of Notre Dame football, is to win warm friendship on the part of people who appreciate clean sportsmanship. And then Father O'Hara finishes saying, Notre Dame football is a new crusade. It kills prejudice and stimulates faith. That's where we got the title of the exhibit. And it's not just Father O'Hara. President Walsh, former President Kavanaugh, Newt Rockne are understanding Notre Dame's football success in this political environment. Major off-campus observers, the New York Times, Harper's Magazine, are understanding Notre Dame's football success through this lens of politics.
I want to thank our listeners for joining us this month on FiresideND. I hope you enjoyed the episode and will visit think.nd.edu to learn more. Until next time, inspire your mind and spark conversations.